I also want to move into what we can do for those of us who are vegans and animal advocates and activists, and not everyone on this call is, but for those of us who are, we're very, very sensitive to the plight of the animals that are farmed, that we're eating, that are in medical testing, and all of the suffering and exploitation that's going on. And I'm in a pretty good space now, but I've been in times in my life where I can't even sleep at night because I know the slaughterhouses are in action at night, and I'm just wide awake and feeling all of the pain and all of this. And what can I do? What can we do to communicate with these billions of farm animals, or those who are, we've learned about medical, and we've always known about medical testing, but the world's learning more about it, or product testing, and they're in dire conditions and fear. What is there anything we can do to alleviate their suffering, or to communicate? Or, I don't even know. I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Well, I'm really glad you asked that, because there's a lot we can do for animals who are suffering, or that we know they're suffering or in trauma, even before we've developed our skills or remembered all our skills in telepathic communication. So I won't want anybody to think that there's nothing we can do unless or until we do that. Because communication is not just about conversations, it's about energy. Any of us know, you look at a human loved one, your newborn child or your cat or whoever, just gazing at them with love, that's communication. And when it's so deep, it's a form of telepathy. So there's a lot we can do. So I jotted down some things about this in case we were going to talk about it. I don't want to forget any of this, so I did jot some of it down, because all of these things can be very important. First of all, if we want to help animals in that horrible kind of situation, slaughterhouse, or any suffering, dire suffering of animals, the first thing we need to do is garner the courage to be up close and personal with their suffering, not take it on. There's never, ever, ever, ever a purpose to taking on somebody else's suffering, never. But to be up close with it, that takes a lot of courage. And that's why a lot of people do things like, and I have a lot of clients who call me and say, oh my gosh, I feel so guilty. I couldn't handle being in the euthanasia room when my animals euthanized. Very common. So it's understandable. Being up close with what we believe is the suffering of someone else is very hard to do. It's why people who are rescue workers and shelter workers who do that work every day in and out are my heroes, because they have the courage and willingness to be with it up close all the time. So that's the first thing that I would say is, if you want to help them, bring forth courage, and whatever your spiritual beliefs might be, whoever you reach out to for help spiritually, whether that's God, whether that's Jesus Christ, whether that's Buddha, whether it's your spirit guides, whether it's angels, it doesn't matter, but ask for help. Ask for help to bring forth courage to be able to do this. The second thing is, it's very important, before we help them, to acknowledge our likely sense of vulnerability and helplessness. Because, for instance, the story with the banana slug, that was one animal, and at least I had some things I was trying to do right away, even though, he let me know very bluntly he didn't need them, but it was one animal and I had stuff I could start doing. When you're talking about billions of animals in slaughterhouses, or all the whales in captivity, or on and on and on and on and on, or animals in
You're frozen up. There we go.
Animals in experimental settings, and all those horrible situations. During, not like the banana slug where I could do something, but situations where we really are helpless to do anything physically. Now, we might be an activist working to change the system. The activists are my other set of heroes in my life. But even if we're activists, we still have to do this emotional stuff to help ourselves. And if we want to help those animals now, not 30 years from now or shorter than that, when maybe slaughterhouses don't exist anymore, there are ways we can help them as individuals. So, but it is important to at least acknowledge our vulnerability and sense of helplessness, that we can't go free them, all of them right now. That's important to do, to acknowledge the emotional truth of that for ourselves. And to also just accept the fact, this sounds obvious, but accept the fact that we can't help them all. People who become hoarders of cats, for instance, are people who haven't accepted, and they might also have some other mental issues involved, but a lot of people who tend to hoard are people who have not accepted the fact that they can't rescue them all. And that's a hard, cold fact, but there's not one person who can rescue every animal that needs rescuing. And to accept that limitation helps us. So that's another thing. But getting to practical stuff too, and once that courage is brought up, it's also important, and we can ask for spiritual help for this, that before we connect with those billions of animals in the slaughterhouses, before we even try to send them something helpful, this is really the heart of it. We have to be sure that our pain about their pain doesn't come with us when we connect with them. Mm-hmm. Because our pain about their pain is not going to help them. Our pain's very real. And so what I always suggest is that we temporarily take our pain and put it aside. What I like to do, I'm very close to my spiritual guides. I ask them to take it for me temporarily. Temporarily. I only ask them to fix it. I used to use the phrase clear it before you do this. And I've modified that over the years because I realized that phrase kind of connotes it's over then. Just clear yourself of all your pain about this and it's over. Well, that's not possible to do in the moment, but we can temporarily put our pain aside so that when we go to that animal, we don't go with pain. We aren't burdening them with our pain. So that's a really, really important thing. And to have a plan and resources for help for our pain before and after we help the animal. It's called, a wonderful phrase for this is compassion fatigue. All of us who help animals have experienced and may experience long-term compassion fatigue. And there are things we need to do to help ourselves from that. So it's not like that temporarily putting it aside means it's unimportant. It's extremely important, but it can't be in the way when we go to the animal. So that's a big, big part of it. But here's what we can do once we've done all that. And I forgot to say also, protect ourselves from their pain. And that's a whole other issue of energetic protection. If somebody has questions about that, I can talk about it later. But so we've put aside our pain, we protected ourselves energetically. So when we go in, we aren't going to soak in all their pain. So once we've done all of that, then I suggest getting nice and quiet, close our eyes, and just become very aware of our love for these animals. And if the pain comes up, and it will, just make the intention again to put our pain aside and just stick with the love we have for them. And allow ourselves to become calm. And this can be an hour-long meditation or it can be a minute, doesn't matter. But just to make that intention that we're now focusing on our love for them and we're getting more calm. And the two energies that I've learned helped animals in that kind of duress the most are sending them love and the energy of calm. And that might sound bizarre, like, well, they're in so much trauma, they're about to be slaughtered. How can us sending them calm help them? Well, when you think about having ever been in a traumatic situation yourself, maybe you were in a car accident and you're sitting in the car on the phone with your loved one or with 911, and the person on the other end is very calming and soothing as they talk to you. Or you've had some other trauma and you're lucky enough not to have a friend say, well, do this and do this and do this, but instead they listen to you and they come with an essence of great calming energy. There's something about, and I think the energy of calm is very underrated in our culture. It's
Sure.
very powerful. And that's why, of course, there's more and more talk about, there's even an app called Calm, which is very popular now, where we're all learning how powerful calming the body is, or calming the mind is for our body. I have some serious heart problems, and believe me, I really relearned the power of breath and to calm not only my mind, but literally my heart. And it really works. I can see it on my Fitbit. My resting heart rate can go down in less than a minute when I do that. So the power of calm when we're in trauma is immeasurable. So all that being said, what we can do is picture these animals and not focus on their suffering for these few minutes, but focus on our love for them and literally feel all the love we have for these animals leave our heart, travel to them, and reach every one of their hearts, along with the energy of calmness. And as simple as that sounds, imagine again if you were in a car accident and you call somebody and you're in your car, and instead of receiving that from them, you're hearing, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you want me to call daddy? Oh my God, this is so horrible. Well, how are the tires looking? Were you wearing your seatbelt? Blah, 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 blah. That doesn't help. When we're in trauma, what helps is love and calming. And of course, practical help when it's possible. It's not possible for most of us. I mean, some activists go to slaughterhouses and rescue animals, and bravo to them, but it's not possible for most of us to just go and rescue them all.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's one animal or thousands, we can always help them. Because when I connect, and I've done this with cows, when I then start talking with them, and I usually send the love and the calming first and then talk to them, it really helps. It really makes a difference. I also did this at the direction of a good friend of mine who's on the other side, who I still talk with a lot. When Katrina happened, I was very concerned about, oh my God, what can I do for these animals, blah, blah, blah. And there was a rescue group led by somebody I know. So I was communicating with individual animals for them as they were rescuing them to let them know what's going on. But I just felt like I was supposed to do more. And my friend came to me and she said, Teresa, I'm helping the animals who were left behind, who aren't going to be rescued.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like, come with me and I'll take you to somebody who can help them. So she took me. This was all telepathic. There was an attic and there was a cat in there who was left behind, who was in the process of dying from dehydration. And all I did, with the support of my friend, really showing me how to do this, was sending the love and the calm as she died.
Oh.
And that way, and this is important for us all to remember too, whether it's the cows in the slaughterhouse or any situation, it means they don't die without love.